Ugh. Ugh. Good day. I once received a comment asking me to review The Doom, and I was somewhat confused as to just what The Doom was. And then it occurred to me, Doom is certainly epic enough and awesome enough to warrant a The title. I mean, you have The Batman and The Universe, so why not The Doom? Now, just about every first-person shooter review that I make calls back to Doom in some way. So, that is why I am going to make my 1,000 subscriber special be a Doom Mega Review. Today we're going to review Doom 1, Doom 2, and Final Doom. But before we get into any of those, we must first look at Doom's predecessor, Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D was the very first video game that I had ever played, and to this day I have very fond memories of playing it. Just about every sound and image brings on feelings of nostalgia. And when, in the course of making this video, I turned on the PC speaker sound effects, a tear almost came to my eye when I heard those bleeps and bloops of my childhood. Now, I was introduced to gaming by my grandfather, who at the time worked at the then premier computer company, Compaq. And he, and by extension me, due to his job, always had access to cutting-edge PCs, which is why I was able to become a PC gamer. Now, when this game came out, my grandfather was blown away by just how amazing the graphics were. And really, for 1992, these graphics were some of the best yet seen. Stuff actually looked like stuff. People actually looked like people. And despite being 20 years old, the gameplay is still pretty much in line with what modern FPSs use. Although, unlike in Call of Duty, you can open doors. What an amazing concept. This game pretty much laid down the groundwork for just about every single first-person shooter ever made. In this game, you went around and collected keys and killed things and then found an exit. This game also introduced the concept of the protagonist's face as a means of telling how damaged you were. The game's weapons also pretty much corresponded with what future FPS weapons would be. You have the crappy melee weapon, which in this game was a butcher knife. You then had the pistol, which was better than the butcher knife, but not very good. Then you have the machine gun, which can be found within the very first level, and this is the main weapon you'll be using throughout the game because it doesn't use that much ammo and can kill enemies fairly quickly. You then have the chain gun, which in addition to sounding awesome, kills just about anything in a few bursts. The only problem is it chews through ammo quite quickly, and since your weapons share ammo, that is not necessarily a good thing, because guess what? Enemies just get annoyed when you use the butcher knife. Now, the enemies are also fairly simple. You just have typical Nazi guards. You also have a few SS men with machine guns, a couple of officers which for some reason have more health than the basic Nazi guards, and also do more damage, even though in theory they're using the same weapons. Also, you do fight a few zombies with guns built into their chests. Hey, it was the early 90s. Just go with it. The enemies also have only a very few frames of animation and move rather stiffly. This is offset by the fact that their attacks are rather devastating, so they still retain quite the challenge. The game also introduced the concept of secrets. If you looked hard enough, you could find hidden caches of ammo and treasure. Since this game was more or less the first-person shooter, there were a few holdover elements from other types of games. You have a point system and a live system, both of which are absolutely pointless since you can save whenever you want. Still, I have to admit that back in the day, racking up huge numbers of points by collecting treasure was rather satisfying. In short, Wolfenstein 3D prepared the world for the awesomeness of the FPS genre. It was an amazing and groundbreaking game in its own right, and it is a testament to Doom's greatness that it would be somewhat overshadowed by its successor. Now, as a very young kid, I did not follow gaming press or anything like that, and in order to learn of any new games, I had to be told about them by my grandfather. And one day, he told me that he was going to be getting Doom. At the time, I could not appreciate the magnitude of that statement. In fact, I thought Doom was going to be some sort of side-scrolling dungeon crawler for some reason. Well, I could not have been more wrong, which is why today we're going to take a close look at Doom. Graphically, the game was at the time one of the most amazing looking games on the market. The sprites for the weapons were exquisitely detailed, the level textures were highly complex, and the levels now had elevated planes. The level design itself was far more complex and elaborate than the level design in Wolfenstein 3D. Also, in the levels, there were little static scene pieces that really gave the game some added creepy atmosphere. In short, graphically, the game was 1993's equivalent to Crysis. Nothing that had come before had ever looked quite this good. Now, the gameplay for Doom needs no introduction. It is first-person shooter. All the key hunts, all the runs to the exit were solidified in this game. In some of the later episodes, though, there were some minor puzzle-solving elements. The sound for Doom is just about as iconic as the gameplay itself. Numerous homages have been made just to the Doom door sounds. As for music, well, it too is also just about as famous as the gameplay. Just about everyone from the Doom generation has these two songs hard-coded into their memory. At the time of Doom's release, the concept of shareware was still fairly popular. Essentially what would happen is you would get a free piece of a game, and if you liked it, you would then go and buy the rest of the game via mail. And if a game got popular enough, you would eventually start to see it in stores. Doom is divided into 3 episodes, with the shareware episode being Knee Deep in the Dead. The first episode is by far the shortest and easiest, befitting its shareware status. The second episode, Shores of Hell, was my personal favorite back in the day, solely because on easier difficulties, you got a shotgun early on. This episode features more enemy types, longer and more numerous levels, and I would say even better music. The third episode, Inferno, is by far the best. It had very challenging levels, creepy music, and it's just all around more polished than the first 2. The difficulty for Doom is pleasingly high. The enemies can do a lot of damage, and health packs on harder difficulties can be very scarce. As a kid, my favorite difficulty was Hurt Me Plenty, but today I either play it on Ultra Violence or Nightmare. As befitting its Nightmare status, the enemies fire faster, more accurately, and are far more numerous. Also added to that is the fact that they respawn, so you can never actually clear an area. And it is definitely a difficulty to try if you really want to test your skill. The weapons seen in Doom set the standard for first-person shooter weapons for years to come, and are still called back to this day. The weakest weapon in the game is the somewhat iconic fist. That does very little damage and is really only to be used if you either don't have any ammo or if you want to conserve ammo. Eventually, you find a chainsaw of epic. It doesn't run out of gas, and of course, you don't even have to start it. And it is an excellent weapon for clearing out low-level enemies. Epic Doom Metal time! The pistol is the very first weapon you actually get in the game, and it works exactly like you would expect. It's the same pistol that is seen in dozens of FPSs. It's weak, and is only good if you have nothing better. In fact, after you get the chain gun, you will never use it again, because both weapons share ammo. The shotgun is an FPS staple that is still seen in first-person shooters today. It, of course, got its start right here in Doom, and many FPSs that have come out after Doom have at least paid some homage to its magnificence. Now, the weapon itself is quite useful, and you pretty much use it throughout the entire game. The Doom shotgun is just amazing. Good range, good damage, and plentiful ammo, and a discharge sound that will send chills down the spine of any Doom fan. Like with the sound itself, the firing animation is firmly hard-coded into my brain. I have probably killed more monsters with this gun than just about any other FPS weapon. In any top 10 video game weapon list, this gun should come in first every time. You then get the chain gun, and while it is definitely more mundane, it is still pretty damn good. It uses the common pistol ammo and has a high cyclic rate. Sure, your shotgun is good on single enemies or small groups of enemies, but when you have an entire army after you, the chain gun allows you to mow down the entire lot. Now, my only complaint is the fact that the sprite could be a little more detailed. The rocket launcher is another great weapon that is good for clearing out groups of enemies and heavy enemies. You then get the plasma rifle, and it is a good weapon for just about anything. You can use it on groups of heavies, you can use it on cyber demons, and you can use it on groups of low-level enemies if you need to. The only problem is it's not as necessary in the first game as it is in later games. The Bioforce gun, or as just about anyone else would call it, the big fucking gun, is a weapon that actually has spawned its own word in the English language. Anytime you get a big fucking gun in a game of any description, one will call it a BFG. The BFG type of weapon would be seen in several Quakes, and there is even a shout out to it in Rage. In Doom 1, it is useful for sure, but once again, you will need it even more in later games. Now, from what I have read, Doom was supposed to have an epic story with multiple characters. Well, at some point, that all got jettisoned, because in Doom, there pretty much is no story. Really, all you're told is hell invades, and that you are the last of your squad, and you must fight back the hordes of hell!
Alright, I have to interject.
What the? Who are you?
I'm the devil. You'd think that the horns and the tail would have tipped you off.
Don't look all that satanic in appearance to me.
Yeah, well, even us demonic creatures from the burning pits have to keep up with the fashion. If you like, I can go with the loincloth demon thing, or I could go really old school and do it nude like Adam and Eve.
No, that will not be necessary.
Oh. Well, as I was saying, the hordes of hell did not attack the moon of Phobos. I should know. The attack is scheduled. Right. I should know since I command the hordes of hell. No, what is really going on is that you guys opened a portal to a planet where these alien creatures just look like the denizens of hell. So yeah, my party is completely innocent and slandered in all of this.
I don't know. Demonic-looking enemies, hellish environments. It looks like it was you guys to me, at least.
No, this is a demon. And this is a demon. Is this a demon?
You have me there, I suppose.
I'll have you soon enough, that's for sure. The things you do on the internet, oh.
Without a doubt, Doom was one of the most important games ever released. Without it, we would not have the first-person shooter genre as we know it today. Now these days, many man-hours are wasted due to crappy, boring games such as World of Warcraft. But back in the 90s, when games were still great, even more man-hours were lost due to the magnificence of Doom. Helpful, when do you think we're going to see, the KOTOR review, or possibly Diablo month?
Yeah, just a minute.
Oh, what about that book we were supposed to write?
Yeah, just let me do one more.
Hey, we're supposed to be working on a video game together. You're just sitting here playing Doom. Now you can respond to me, aren't you? You know what? Forget this. In any event, Doom would become so popular that it would see release on just about every single console in existence, from the Sega 32X to the Super Nintendo to even TI-80 calculators. If there's a console, Doom is probably on it. Hell, even today, Doom is on the Xbox Live Arcade. Now, with anything that is popular, there's got to be a sequel, and Doom would receive a sequel in 1994 in the guise of Doom 2. Now, admittedly, Doom 2 by today's standards is kind of lackluster. The game only introduces one new weapon and several new enemy types, and yet this game is still great and can be considered the best of the old school Dooms. Sure, you only get one new weapon, but when that weapon is the super shotgun that can actually take down a Hell Knight in only a few blasts, it gets special dispensation that makes it a significant advancement in gaming. The new enemy types really ramp up the challenge and just make the game a bit more fun than the original. Now, with the weapons on hand in the first Doom, one could really just kind of wade through enemies almost with impunity. But in Doom 2, you really have to be a lot more careful. Probably the most notable aspect of Doom 2 is the vastly improved maps. They are longer, more detailed, and have even better atmosphere than the ones previously. Furthermore, the levels now actually have some somewhat difficult puzzles as well. For me, Doom 2 has the best maps by far. My two favorite maps of all time are actually found in Doom 2. My first favorite map is Downtown, mainly because it looks like an actual city. Back in the early 1990s, this blew my mind. It was just so amazing that you could see, from a first-person perspective, an actual city-like object. Because back in that time period, levels in video games just looked like levels in video games. Here, you actually got a location that resembled something in real life. The level is pretty bloody hard, to say the least, and actually finishing it is somewhat of a chore because it has several puzzles to solve and a huge amount of enemies to kill. My second favorite level is Barrels of Fun, mainly because it's filled with explosive barrels. And that's really the whole reason why. Does there really need to be any other reason to love a level called Barrels of Fun? The Doom 2 story is still pretty basic. Just a couple of text screens that say that hell somehow invaded Earth, and now it's up to you to stop the demonic hordes from killing off the last of the human race.
God damn it. Right, as I was saying, would you stop saying that hell invaded? I keep telling you people that the aliens look demonic. I mean, just imagine how ugly and evil you look to them. Besides which, where in hell is there a spider mastermind? How do spiders fit into hell?
But then why does it say hell on Earth?
Well, it's obviously because when someone is waging war upon your home, your life becomes suffering personified. Or, as your slang would call it, hell.
I don't know. All of this seems quite suspicious. I'll let you off the hook for now, but if I hear of another hell invasion, I might have to take some drastic measures.
Oh, what? You're gonna shoot me with your puny human weapons?
There would be one final classic Doom release appropriately named Final Doom. Now, in all reality, Final Doom was not created by id Software, but rather it was created by two separate modding teams. Yes, the Doom community has been actively creating mods for Doom pretty much since it came out, and I actually played a few back in the day, even though I did not have access to the internet. Basically, my grandfather would download them at work and then take them back home with it. Now, Final Doom consists of two megawads, Plutonia Experiment and TNT Evolution. The Plutonia Experiment was created by the Casale brothers, and TNT was created by Team TNT. Now, I have read that some people complained about this, saying that both organizations sold out. I say if you can get paid for doing something as a hobby, more power to you. Now, if only I got paid for doing this, but alas, that is not to be. Yet. Moving right along, Final Doom is okay. It's basically nothing more than more maps. It's got all the same enemies and weapons as Doom 2. The game is difficult, but that's really all it has going for it. And honestly, even back in the day, I found Final Doom to be somewhat lackluster. The story is basic as all hell. Essentially, hell invades. Again. Okay, you're not fooling me anymore. I know you're behind all of these incursions, and now you're going to pay.
Oh well, couldn't keep up the act forever. In any case, you're still just one lowly human with about a handful of firearms. You're no match for the might of hell.
Oh yeah? Fleet, target planet Hell, and fire!
Where in the high holy fuck did you get a fleet?
Mizio and I built it.
Oh yeah.
Seems legit.
Despite the fact that Doom is almost 20 bloody years old, it is still alive and well. Mainly because the fan community has been fairly active since pretty much the get-go, and by now, there are thousands of fan-created mods. There are multiple ways to get Doom running on modern PCs. You could use DOSBox, which would give the game a classic touch, or you could use one of the many source ports that have been created throughout the years. There is Z-Doom, GZ Doom, Skulltag, and many others. Now what these source ports do is give Doom a few updates, such as more advanced level rendering, the ability to look up and down, crouch and jump, and high screen resolutions, 1080p for the win. Now there are of course a few high-res texture packs as well. Damn, that looks good. There are also multiple ways to play Doom online. I personally prefer Skulltag as it makes it easy to find and create servers. And believe me, Doom co-op is quite fun, especially on Nightmare. Now after almost 20 years, the levels for Doom have been getting quite boring and repetitive, but thankfully, fan-created levels are legion. Now since its inception, fans have created their own levels, and they range from basic to complex, such as my favorite, The Island. I absolutely love this level as it is really quite long and features some very intense fights, and the level is just so bloody graphically impressive. Now to run a map like that back in the day, you would have needed a computer as advanced as Skynet immersed in liquid hydrogen. There are even some remade maps as well, such as this one, which remakes the first map of Doom, and damn is this level complex, and once again, to run this back in the day, you would have needed Skynet! There are even fan-created episodes that can give you hours and hours of content. In short, Doom will never die. It is not a zombie. It is not a vampire. It is an immortal. Essentially, if you were a Doom fan back in the day and have forgotten about it because you became bored with it, do several Google searches, and your Doom addiction will come back even worse than before. So kiss productivity goodbye.
General, don't you, think you should finish this review already?
You know, I already killed the devil. Where the hell am I supposed to go? I mean, why can't they just make these maps a little more, easy to figure out?
John, you're already almost finished recording. Just finish the goddamn outro.
Okay, fine. So, without a doubt, Doom is one of the most influential first-person shooters ever made. And, without it, we would not have the FPS genre in general. Where the hell am I supposed to...
Just finish the goddamn review!
Alright, fine. So this is General Lotz.
Finally. Jesus.
Yeah, fine. And I'm dying, by the way. Thanks for that. This is General Lotz. Wish you good Neo Doom, good GoldenEye mod, or whatever makes you happy.
name is Satan, and today we will be learning how to knit a sweater for our lovely grandchildren.
A tear almost came to my eye when I heard those bleeps and bloops of my childhood.
What?
Is downtown, mainly because it looks like
Sorry.
For me, Doom 2 has the best maps by far.